My name is Natalie Perez, and I have an interview with a couple of the band members of the band called Seeker on July 2nd, 2025. So first off, please introduce yourself. Who are you, and what role do you play in the band?
Well, thanks for having us on, Natalie. I'm John. Um, I I play the guitar. I program the drums. I play the bass. I do the synth, the recording, the mixing, the mastering, producing. So a little bit of everything. Yeah. Brian?
Awesome. Yeah, John's the one man show, and I'm just there for the support. No, uh, my name is Ryan. I do the heavy vocals for Seeker,
hmm
and that's pretty
Yeah.
much it.
Well, and then you
And
bring
and
the
I write the
you
lyrics. Yeah,
yeah, and you bring the energy.
yeah,
It's like this project was kind of just sitting doing nothing until somebody that had the fire could bring it into the limelight. So you bring a lot of the energy and momentum to get it going.
yeah. I think that's something that's definitely important in any project. Just to kind of, I've always kind of had that youthful spirit when it comes to bands and projects of driving and wanting to get things done. So yeah.
hmm Nice. Yeah.
Where did the idea for the band name come from? Was it planned out, or did it just pop up?
I think
Um, yeah,
we're back in your apartment.
yeah, it ended up being your idea. I can't remember. It was a bigger name, and then you were like, "Why don't we just call it Seeker?"
Well, you had the idea. I remember you brought up Soul Seeker, and then I was
Huh.
like, let's just go Seeker.
Yeah, yeah.
And
There was like a list of names, and that one seemed to catch our our eyes, and then you're like, why don't you just call it Seeker? And I was like, oh, duh. That makes like I don't even know why I didn't think of that. Yeah, so it started off as a list, and then Ryan kind of inspired it to be more succinct and a more universal, like it encapsulates everything that we were trying to say with the name of the band. So
Does the band name have a meaning behind it, or no?
um so yeah, the project itself has lots of meaning behind it. Um, but ultimately it's about like a self-discovery process and finding out what someone or something is capable of. And so that's why the idea was written down as like soul seeker and then reframed to just seeker because it's like any form of seeking, any form of self-improvement, self-betterment, finding out what's really there, how deep does the rabbit hole go, that kind of thing. So it's for those who are seeking. Yeah.
purpose, fulfillment.
hmm
How would you describe your music to people who have never heard your music before?
Loud, angry. No, um, I think there's a lot of depth to it, actually, from the songwriting style to the lyrical content to even the layers that are put into it as far as like the structure and the programming and the processing. Um, I so I grew up playing concert music or classical concert music and jazz. I played trumpet, studied jazz in college, and even spent a little time getting into worship music. And I just really dug how detailed and depth and all the layers that go into a song. And that kind of comes in through my songwriting structures. I like the songs to go on like a little bit of a journey from more simplistic to complex. And then we even do that in the lyrical content. There's some more simplistic lyrical rhythms, and then it gets more complex, even in the actual words being chosen, and then all of the layers, like from synth to strings to yeah. So it's heavy, but I would say there's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of complexity to it. Not in the sense of like technicality. I'm not a technically proficient musician, I would say, but a lot of depth as far as what's available, all the layers that are in the track. Ryan, you got anything you'd like to say or add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think like with us, what, from, lyrical vocal standpoint, just the dynamic, uh, I like to refer to it as like a fire and ice. You always, there's so much like screaming and then clean choruses and metalcore, and it's been going on for years. But I feel like with what we bring and the influences that Jon just mentioned, I think just makes our dynamic just a little bit different than what's out there right now currently. Just has a little bit of a different sound. Like Jon's clean is very soulful and more unique, I think, compared to a lot of other bands that have clean singing with heavy vocals. And as far as me, I'm just bringing whatever heat I can bring. So that's
Bringing the thunder, bringing the lightning.
yeah, yeah. It's a little it's like Blades of Glory, fire and
Yeah,
ice. That's how
yeah,
I like to describe us.
yeah.
Uh,
And I actually like it that way too. It's very dualistic because your influences are a lot heavier metal bands than I'm familiar with. Like I know a lot of them, but like you like heavy stuff.
yeah.
Whereas mine was a little bit more like the lighter metalcore type stuff.
Hmm.
And I actually like that. I like that you bring in, it's like you said, fire and ice, that polar opposites, that yin and yang. There's like a lot of layers and detail and soulfulness, and then there's like this heavy low to it. So
Yeah, I mean, I've always like I'm into a lot of the modern deathcore nowadays.
mhm.
But obviously I tried to mold the level of influence that I'm bringing in that into this project that makes it more appropriate, tasteful. Um, yeah, so it's I think it's worked out really well.
Mhm.
And taken away from everything you guys just mentioned, what sort of image do you think your music conveys, if anything?
Honestly, I think at this point, based upon it's funny because like all these projects that I've been affiliated with in the past, like for an example, like my parents just never liked any of it. It's just all screaming, heavy, this and that stuff. Up until this project, now they love it. So I think
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
they do, dude. Like your voice saved it. But so I think there's definitely a broad appeal. So in terms of image, I don't think like I think it's inviting to anybody really that, I think there's a little bit something for everybody. You got your heavy, intense, you know, I guess scene type vibes, however you want to describe it. But then you have, I think, with our courses, kind of more of those alternative, broader scale vibes in there as well. And I think with that, if we were, if everyone were to listen to it, I think you'd get people from all walks of life from the music scene finding something that they can appreciate about it. So I don't think it really caters towards one. I think overall, yeah, it's metalcore, but it's metalcore with kind of like a different look, different feel, different sound to it in a way.
Yeah, that was a good question and a good answer. Um, Yeah, to reference, like, while we don't sound like this project, but a name that everybody's really familiar with right now is Sleep Token is kind of taking the scene right now as being really eclectic and having a multiplicity of sounds within their sound, and it's very appealing to people who like softer music, people who like heavier music, and while we're not that, wide with our range of expression, there is a lot more variability and expression within the realm that we are doing, the metalcore realm that we are doing. And I've always had this idea with um, three forms of awareness. I say it all the time: KQ, IQ, EQ. The I think the Instagram even refers to that, but kinesthetic awareness, intellectual awareness, and emotional intelligence. So sound, sensation, smell, touch, taste, hear, see. IQ, like stimulating your thoughts or your consciousness or your awareness to stimulate new ideas. And then emotion, like grabbing onto the emotional heartstrings. And I love um, the idea of the music representing that, like something that gives somebody a sensation in their body, like whether that's hair stands up or like, oh, that part was awesome, or they listen to the lyrical content and it's kind of like, oh, that's stimulates. I wonder what they made them say that, or wonder where that came from. all the way to, the emotional intelligence aspect, which is the feeling that maybe it can convey through the depth of the song. And that's what I would like the image to be. I don't know how well we execute that, but that's definitely the goal. That's definitely the intention.
Did you know one another before the band was even formed?
No, no, Craigslist is a hell of a place, right, Ryan? We met on Craigslist.
Literally just about every single project I've been affiliated with. I've been doing this projects for 18 years on and off, and everyone came from Craigslist except one, but like
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
It's there's no other way. So
Yeah. There's
if
no
you're
other
gonna
way.
start there, go to Craigslist.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have a project that did a little bit of touring, and we were trying to like push it to be the thing. It didn't end up working out, and I ended up having like 7, 8, 9 songs that I've been sitting on for probably anywhere from 5 to 7 years, um, that have just been like skeletons in the closet, and then even some new ones that have been written. And I finally got the itch to like, okay, I want to put these out there. These deserve to see the light of day. And so I made a Craigslist post, and that's how I met Ryan. And Ryan came in, and he loved the material, and he definitely fit the job. He fit the criteria, and so he's been helping me pump out like this catalog that's been available for years that we just have not done anything with. And with each release, we're getting closer to like new material, which is really cool. So um, yeah, but we didn't know each other. Craigslist.
Yeah, I ended up moving up to Sonoma County a little over about 15 months ago. And I was doing a kind of a deathcore project. It was very early stages of it, and things didn't end up working out with that. And I was actually about to kind of like ring it up for a bit because it was always just like patterns just kept repeating with experiences and projects, and like me wanting to get it to that point where it could take off, but it hardly ever did. And so I was talking with a buddy of mine. He's like, no, dude, like just stick with it. And literally, I went on Craigslist, and that's when I saw John's ad. So he heard a previous band that I was in, some songs that were on Spotify. And yeah, like you said, it just fit the mold. And we've been going at it for a little over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you write your own songs? Can you discuss how the ideas go in the songwriting process? Like, I don't know, you're walking down the street and you look at a tree. Ooh, I'm gonna write about that tree. It gave me a funny look.
Yeah, it's funny. I get like a symphony that pops up in my head randomly. I just get this inspiration of this like feeling or this vision for a final product, like what it can look like and sound like. And then it's like the anxiety to get that out. How quick, how fast I can get that out onto paper or onto Pro Tools is what I use. But ironically, it usually starts with drums. So I have a really catchy rhythm or a beat or a groove that's like I can't get out of my head. And so I'll spend a few hours programming it. And then it's interesting how as soon as the drums are done, all of a sudden I know exactly what I want to do with the guitars. And I end up with some sort of guitar, bass, drum, just like outline of a song. And it's usually structured. It's usually got, its intro or its head, it's got a verse, it's got a chorus, it's got a breakdown, a bridge. And then I wait for the inspiration for what is it going to be about? What is it I want to say to it? What's the melody is going to be like in it? And when it happens to these songs have been previously written for quite a while, like I was saying. And so for me, it was really about finding ultimately Ryan. It was about finding like the right person who appreciated what was created and then wanted to put their flair, like their words, their passion into it. So um, yeah, the songs that we're releasing currently, while they have been written and recorded for quite a while, just without a vocalist such as Ryan, um, the process to which how they go through their discovery process is usually from drums up. And I'm not a drummer, so that's why it's funny, but it works out.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard like so many projects and songs just starting like drums. I mean, that kind of sets the foundation for most songs, or maybe if there's a riff and things working around that. But yeah, pretty much for me, it's you know, I have to have an emotional connection to the music if I'm going to be performing vocals, writing lyrics to any capacity. And that's gone with any project that I've been. If I can't feel it, if I can't go deep within myself, then I'm not giving my honest effort. It's not a true effort, or a true expression, rather. So I've been fortunate enough with, I mean, going back, like I said, it started like 18 years ago, and then all the projects along the way up until now, being able to kind of feel that and express myself in that way at the very least, even though these projects didn't take off to where I'd wanted them to be, and as much as I believed in it, whether it was like false hope or whatever. But nevertheless, I was able to express myself in a pure, true form. And that's pretty much what I'm doing now. And I think, yeah, with the way Seeker's sound is, just being more of that like overall embodied experience, um, yeah, it definitely just allows me to branch out and even evolve more than what I've been used to in the past. Um, and I think, with anything, it's like with any sport or just in life in general, you want to surround yourself with people that can help elevate you and make you better. And that's definitely what I've felt uh, with Seeker since we've been doing this. And as far as like how I go about writing lyrics, it's, I mean, pretty generic response I'm about to give, but just literally like what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing in my day to day. I think in recent years, I've kind of tapped more into perhaps more socio-political influences, just having more awareness and more um, connection to, what's going on in our world and our society. But I never like to get specific. I never like to get political. I'm not a political person. Um, it's kind of just, humanistic qualities, but I try to be right in a way that's creative, intricate in a way that captures people's attention. So I've always taken pride in what I write. And whether, I mean, I used to read lyrics all the time as a kid. I remember just like, you know, opening up inserts and reading the lyrics to the songs all the time and just being so inspired and by how things were written by certain artists. I wanted to have the same impact if someone was reading my lyrics that I had when I was reading, you know, lyrics off of, for example, AFI Black Sails in the Sunset. So being able to try to make that impact and make it true, honest, and meaningful.
Nice. Yeah, well said. I feel like I'm learning about you, bro, from these
I know.
interviews too.
Well, it's funny now, like we've been doing this project for a year, but like, yeah, we don't get to hang out too much because we're so
No,
busy
yeah,
with our
yeah,
schedules, just life
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
It's cool to hear this stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
Would you say that your songs stick to a specific topic or theme, or do they vary song to song? Because you know how certain bands, if you're a death metal band, you could stick to blood, guts, and killing, nothing
Mhm.
else. So,
Yeah.
I
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, bro. Oh, I was gonna say, I think that they vary for sure. Um, my influences coming, like I was huge into Northlane. Northlane is in all versions of Northlane, but particularly the beginning versions with Adrian. What is it? I forget that album with Scarab on it. You know what I'm talking about, Ryan?
Yeah, yeah. Was that like 2008, I think, or
Yeah,
something on there?
with Quantum Flux, Scarab.
Yes.
I've always leaned more towards wanting the words to be empowering. Like I think it's really easy to write breakup songs and songs of depression and melancholy. It's kind of hard to write like songs that are evoking like call it positivity and make it not sound kind of cliche or lame. So I've always aimed for me personally to find that sweet spot of and I feel like metal is a perfect expression for that because there's certain words you can say screaming into a microphone that if you sung those words, it would sound kind of lame. So I've always been more inspired and leaned towards how can this have a positive spin lyrically, or a net positive of what we're trying to say. But that being said, it's not stuck to that. It's like there's no rule to that. It's going to be, I think it's kind of like what you said, Ryan. I would imagine like when you get the pre-production, the drums, the bass, the guitar, all the layers, it evokes some sort of feeling in you that you're inspired to write about that thing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I think, well, No Reconcile, you pretty much had that written
Mm-hmm.
as far as lyrics, but all the other songs I've been able to write the lyrics to as far as verses and whatnot. Jon writes the choruses, lyrics, and I'll do the others. But yeah, each of these other three we've released since No Reconcile, which was our first release, it's I've kind of had drawn from a different influence. Like Burning Bridges was kind of more focused around like specifically like kind of like a relationship type scenario, and just kind of going through, you know, the mental and emotional roller coaster of that. And then up till Downfall was kind of more of a socio-political influence. It's just kind of what came to me at that time when I was writing it. And then Playing in the Dark is just kind of like a general thing when dealing with depression, anxiety, stress, just you know, manic episodes, whatever it may be, just that general internal struggle. And talking about that sweet spot, like I don't want to write anything that's just doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
There's bands that can do that and can do that well, but you know, like Joy Division did a great job at it, and they shouldn't do otherwise, you know. But for me, yeah, I think finding that sweet spot's also important because in life, I mean, you have to yeah.
So yeah, we were talking about if we stick to certain themes, and we were talking about the balance of lyrics, finding that middle ground.
Yeah.
And right before it it dropped off, I was going to mention, you know, how we did the ending of Burning Bridges and now the ending of Playing in the Dark. And there is another example of that fire and ice ness to it, because it's that seems to be a cool little feature that you and I take advantage of, Ryan, is like overlaying lyrics over each other, and we're saying slightly different things,
Mhm.
right? And using my clean vocals, because you were saying that Playing in the Dark was more, had more sadness, melancholy, loss to it, and then the
Mhm.
lyrics that come in the chorus are balancing that. They're kind of like finding the hope in that, and then at the end when we're overlaid over each other, yours is saying, you know, yours is saying more from one perspective, and then my vocals are coming in from the other perspective, and so it creates that kind of balance.
Yeah, yeah. Like towards the end on my end, it's just more of like this like outcry for help, like knowing that you're struggling and trying to find some sort of solace in, you know, this sense of, you know, get me out of here, get me out of this place, put me into to a better situation. Um, yeah, because there's always going to be that internal battle, the angels, demons, however you want to refer to it as. Um, you're always going to have like those voices in your head at times, in whatever the scenario may be, decision making or just dealing with emotional or mental health struggles, um, conflicting thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also too, I know I had to fact check myself while we were on our little break. I mentioned that because we were talking about North Lane. They didn't put anything out in 2008. They didn't come out with anything until 2011. And then Singularity, I think, is what you were talking about, which was
Yes, yes,
2013. Here, I'm like, yeah, I
yes.
thought it was like 2008. Like, want to be seen kid over here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
2030, yeah, Singularity. That would be that album inspired the fuck out of me.
yeah.
That album inspired the hell out of me.
Rightfully so. It's pretty fucking
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Next question.
I know I know a lot of bands when it comes to musical influences, they tend to stick to the same ones. But what would be your latest musical influences that help you create music lately, if any.
Nice. Yeah. You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm really eclectic. I own a business here and we use my playlist to play it all day long. And I have everything from rap to metal to country to pop to Latin to jazz to you name it. And I can feed inspiration off of any of it. I love music. For me, the finished product, if the soul is in it, I can sense that. It's like when people are writing music because of their own pleasure and joy and love that they get from making music, that comes through. It doesn't even matter how well it's mixed. Some of the greatest albums out there have the most garbage sounds phonetically, but the soul comes through. And then, opposite of that, there's some music out there that is mixed like pristine. It's like the best sounds phonetically in your ears, but the songs are just kind of like, eh. There's not a lot of soul behind it, and it feels like they're writing the music for their listener instead of writing the music for themselves, right? I think Rick Rubin's book even kind of talks about that as like the inspiration should always come from you. You should be writing for you, not for um, others. So I grabbed inspiration from a lot of different projects, but it might polarize me here to say this because I know everybody either loves them or hates them. But I'm really big on Sleep Token right now. I just think that those guys are fantastic musicians, like decorated musicians, and they weave a lot of their classical influence, jazz influence, and music theory into what they're doing, and it fits a multitude of genres. And I like the universality to that. I like that, like somebody who likes pop music can filter to them, that somebody who likes metal music can filter to them, somebody that likes more singer songwriter writer can filter to them. So they've been especially since their latest album, even in Arcadia, they've been a recent influence of me just because it's very eclectic and I can find a lot of different genres in that album. So yeah. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, to your point, ditto on that. Like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what genre is coming from. Like, there can just be a certain thing about it. Like, it's just this feel it's kind of hard to describe, but yeah, going towards like the soul and the realness of it. And it's different for everybody, but like if it just sticks with you, it sticks. And then like that's what's kind of meaningful to you, whether it's pop, death metal, country, whatever it is. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like in terms of newer, more mainstream stuff that I've listened to, doesn't influence me to do what I do with Seeker or any projects I've done in the past, but like I love Morgan Wallen's new album. I've in recent days heard more of the modern pop of like Tate McRae, Sabrina Carpenter, those things. And it's cool to kind of see some of that come back again because it's bringing some of old vibes back into the mix. But as far as what I do with metal and art project and any projects that I've done in the past, um, I mean, the first band that really started it for me was AFI when I was like 14 years old. And again, I referenced reading the lyrics. Those were really impactful, just the way that they were written. It was just so you couldn't pinpoint anything, but it just really made you kind of think and wonder like, where are they going with this? What's being referred to? And that's something that's just kind of always stuck with me. And when I started writing lyrics when I was like 15, like I always wanted to try to create that feel, make people kind of, in a way, not mischievous, but like make it open to interpretation, as it's
Mm-hmm.
said. So AFI was like the first band that really made me want to do this kind of stuff. Modern bands nowadays, um, I love Eminence. I think they're incredible. Just I think they're arguably one of the best, definitely one of the best metalcore bands in the scene right now. Just with their symphonic elements, yeah, Eddie Berg is an amazing vocalist. Another band, Currents. I've always loved Currents.
I like
Since,
Currents.
yeah, since the place I feel safest all the way up to now. They're awesome. Seen them live several times as well. Um, Era. been huge on those
There is
guys
good.
as well. They just continue just to put out just great music. Um, and still they've evolved, but they still keep their same formula. And that's something that I really appreciate. They stay, I think, tied to their roots, but testing new boundaries. And yeah, and like, more of I think we're seeing more like synth wave metalcore now. You got like Dayseeker, you got Kingdom of Giants, you got this other band, I think they're from the East Coast too. Why am I not? What is their name? What? I listen to them all the time. I'm blanking on it. Anyways, um, shoot. Give me 1 second. I gotta look them up because I'm having a brain fart right now.
Dayseeker is great. I like Dayseeker. So AFI was your inspiration. Mine was Red Hot Chili Peppers and Audio Slave. Those bands were on repeat for me.
Very different. Yeah, well, I had Californication, and by the way, listen to those on the
I
band
was
I was referring to was Dream Wake.
Dream Lake. Okay,
Yeah, very cool band.
cool.
uh, I'm all across the board. So many influences but going back to the earlier metalcore days, bleeding through, Killswitch Engage, Unearth.
Yeah, definitely Killswitch Engage. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think
that
that
was my first into screamo. Like I didn't have an appreciation for it or an appetite for it until I found Killswitch.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think Killswitch is on everyone's list as far as I mean, they were kind of like everyone's gateway.
Hmm.
Well, a lot of people's gateway into metalcore in the early 2000s. So
Yep.
You mentioned the name drop of the single before, so let's dive in. Let's talk about your new single, Playing in the Dark. What is the inspiration behind it, and what's the song all about?
yeah, I think what I as I alluded to earlier, it's just really kind of about just being in a difficult mental and emotional state, for broader terms. And that can refer to just dealing with anxiety, depression, self-doubt, um, just uncertainty, just I think especially in as we're dealing with people are dealing with so many struggles in today's world with what's going on in society around us and cost of living and there's just so many things that pile on and when you're younger it's like you don't really kind of feel those burdens and I think that's just one aspect that's just kind of changed in my writing as I've gotten older and perhaps more mature but yeah, just kind of translating that into the lyrics. So yeah, playing in the dark is just basically literally just being in a dark mental state of mind, whatever the root of that may be.
Yeah, and for me, I can't speak to it as much lyrically, but there's a lot of really cool inspiration musically. Um, Ryan will probably be able to tell me the name of the song, but at the time I was like obsessed with that Born of Osiris song. You know which one I'm thinking about?
Showed it to
Huh?
me a while back. I can't
Yeah.
remember, but yeah,
And I was like, man, I want to write a song that like the beginning just is like a riff on repeat, like a similar just riff.
yeah,
And what's special about this one is I actually recorded that on my Stratocaster, which is definitely not my metal guitar. I mean, I have a beautiful Schecter with bare knuckle pickups, and I just was like, I'm gonna do this. I put on some big ass strings on my Fender, and I tuned lower than I've ever tuned. And most of my music's like B, drop B flat, and this song's actually in drop A. So it's the first song I've written tuned down to the lowest I've tuned down, and it wasn't even on a metal guitar. It was on my Stratocaster with EMG SA David Gilmour signatures from Pink Floyd pickups. So I was like, that's kind of special to be able to produce a gnarly, deep, girthy guitar tone on like a classic Strat. And
yeah,
then yeah, I wanted to mess with the structure of the song on this one. Like I didn't want it to be so super linear because the head or the intro is also kind of the verse. and then it goes into a pre-chorus, and then it goes into a chorus, and then verse 2 is completely different, and then verse 2 goes into a breakdown, and then it goes into the pre-chorus, then a chorus, and then there's an actual breakdown to the song before it goes to the chorus out. So it's like a very loose structure. I wanted to play around with, because most songs they go like head, verse, chorus, breakdown, end of song. And I wanted to play with that a little bit. So very loose structured, tuned the lowest I've tuned on a guitar that I don't even usually use for metal. And then as for me, the lyrics came last. Uh, I kind of give that freedom to Ryan. That's why he's recognized and is in the role that he is. It's like I just give him it. It's like, what are you inspired by there? And he came with his lyrics, and then it took me a little bit longer on this one to figure out what I wanted to say in the cleans. But I definitely knew that I wanted it to kind of counter a little bit, like the voices in the head, that rationalization of like negative, positive, negative, positive. So you're kind of coming in with the burly screams and it's more from that emotional state, and then I'm coming in with the cleans and it's more from the other side of like, I won't give in, there is still hope, we should know better than this kind of thing. So and it makes that balance.
Definitely. Gotta love the Pink Floyd undertones.
Yeah.
Let's see if anyone notices that.
Yeah. It's the first guitar I ever got, like 16, 17 years old, and I tracked it on that. Not a metal guitar, so it's kind of cool.
Nice.
How would you say that this new single compares and differs uh, to the previous singles?
Yeah. It's got more of, definitely first thing comes to mind, I think, is just more that gent element, kind of more technical sounding. I think like our breakdown too, there's some interesting cadences. And I remember when we were recording it, like we kind of had to sit down and like kind of like break it down a little bit just to get like the timing right and everything in sync, which, none of our previous songs have anything like that. So fortunately, what I like is that thus far is everything that we've released, each song is unique in its own way.
Mm-hmm. And just speaking in like chronological order, it's actually a representation of further growth and development in the project. So it is newer than the previous released stuff. So there's more um, of an edge to try and be a little bit more technically proficient. Um, and like I said previously, like purposely trying to make that song different, where it was more loose in the structure, where every section of the song, except for the chorus, is unique. There's no repeated part except for the pre-chorus and the chorus throughout the song. So it was written with that in mind, was to make it different structure wise, and then playing with being in a different tuning, and then the fact that it's just chronologically the next thing, there's a little bit more like, as you continue to write, you get a little bit more proficient with what you're trying to do with each release that you're working on. So it feels like it's just kind of like the next step up from the last track that we released, but not in a way that's like better or worse. It's just different. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very proud of the previous stuff that we've done too.
definitely. Definitely. But yeah, it's got like a little bit of a different element to it
It's a little
overall.
heavier. Yeah, it's a little heavier. Definitely
Cool.
gent, a lot more polyrhythmic. The
Yeah.
breakdown was pretty intense. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Will we be expecting to see the four singles that you've had released so far come together on an upcoming EP or LP release, or you want to keep everything separate as time goes on from here?
I
Good
think,
question.
yeah. And like we've kind of like talked about that kind of stuff and other, future aspects of the band. But yeah, I think we're kind of just taking things in stride at this time, like without setting any crazy or expectations for it. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely like to, I mean, like John said, like he's had these songs for 5, 7 years. So I think part of us releasing this is kind of like completing something from the past.
Completing a cycle.
Yeah. So whether that comes out in the form of an EP album, I don't know. Um, or, if once these are done, then we do focus on something like that. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm open to any ideas, but yeah, I think once we get, and now that this is our fourth release, we are going to start recording a fifth song, probably, I'd imagine pretty soon, next month or so,
Yeah.
within the next month. Yeah, there'll be other discussions as far as what we want to do in terms of EPs, albums, playing shows. Um, so yeah, I guess it's all kind of to be determined.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think we're trying to take it step by step and not get too far ahead. I'm a little bit older than the last time I tried to do this whole music thing, and it's tough. It's tough. I did like an 18-day tour, a lot of album releases, a lot of shows. Like I did the groundwork of what it takes to be a musician. And for most people, it's a very unsustainable path. And so I kind of took a hiatus from music for a while. And this is me coming back to it, but not from the lens of like, would it be cool to do something with it? Sure. But doing it the way that I did do it in the past is not, that is not a viable option. So it's more so about honoring what has been created already, giving it giving it its moment to breathe, to be experienced, and then letting however it's experienced from others, however they respond to it, will dictate kind of what we do next. Like I don't have any plans, but if like and I don't think Ryan and I release music with this in mind or is our plan, but if we had happened to put out a song that somebody was just like, "Oh my God," and the response was so big that there was something that wanted to be done with that, from concert to tour to album to whatever, I think that maybe that would be something we would cross that bridge when we get there. But for right now, it's about our own pleasure in finishing cycles, closing the loops, and getting what's out there or
Yeah.
what's already been done out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just carry a very realistic mindset and approach. I mean, like Jon mentioned, like Jon owns his own business, that's his priority. That's a huge commitment. I have a full-time job as well. So it's like being in our late 30s now, it's like just a different mentality. Priorities are different, but yeah, like we would definitely embrace and be open to any opportunities that come about if we were approached with anything. Yeah, I mean, I love playing live. I miss playing live, but I'm not like, dude, let's get on the stage because I don't want to like hop around local bars and do that stuff. I mean, honestly, I think our
Rough.
music's
It's
better
rough.
than that, you know? So
It's rough.
it's deserving of something a little better
Yeah.
quality. Not playing bars are bad. It's great.
Yeah.
But you know, being where we're at the stage of where we're at in our lives and where our priorities are at, yeah, we're a little bit more particular, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Bar life is tough, man.
Yeah, yeah. Fun but tough.
Being busy, with your everyday lives and work and what have you, are there any plans set to play any shows or touring, or nothing set in stone yet?
A good
Well,
question as well.
yeah. Well, I think also too, once we get this next song recorded and released, that's 5 songs. And generally, for opening bands, it's you're looking around at least 5 songs to kind of cover a 30-minute set. Um, so yeah, once that's done, then we'll kind of start maybe having talks about that. And if we do decide to set up a show, which I definitely think we should, um, yeah, we have connections and whatnot where we look to set up like a legitimate, decent show, not just some local backyard gig. No offense to anything like that, but again, we want to be efficient and productive with each step that we take with this project, and we both understand that, and I think respect that. process. And so yeah, I mean, again, going back to the phrase, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, we've just been trying to accumulate, put these songs out one by one. Yeah, maybe it's been like a little bit of a slower process than perhaps maybe we would like. But again, it's because, you know, our hands are tied up with other things going on in our lives. But nevertheless, we're still pushing forward and going to get it done.
Yeah, definitely cross that bridge when we get there. I don't even have the means to play live anymore right now because after my days of trying to tour and all that stuff and going through rough spots in my life and financial hardship, I sold all my shit. I had awesome stuff, but I don't have the means to be able to even play live right now. But it is kind of cool. We did have some really good buddies and talented musicians step in and help us fulfill our music video for Downfall. And all of them were kind of like lit up by the project. And so it does feel good to know that if we do get to that spot and cross that bridge, we have people that are ready to fill those roles to be able to do that, to do something like play a show or maybe go on tour. But yeah, I think we're just taking it one step at a time.
Are there any other plans that you have set for the future, like the rest of this year that you would like to share, or you want to keep everything hush hush?
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's any. We have the kind of following or whatnot to kind of keep things too much of a secret, really. But yeah, I mean, we've got plenty more music set to be released in just over time. Like I said, we're going to start recording our fifth song probably in the next couple weeks or so, I'd say. And
And
then
I think we have at least 4 tracks after that.
yeah, yeah. So definitely some good amount of music left to be put out. And then yeah, I mean, if we look to kind of write newer stuff, or if before we release the remainder of those songs, if we've played a show or two at that point, who knows? But yeah, definitely more music in the future. Possibly, I mean, we were talking about maybe doing another video for playing in the dark, which would be awesome. Yeah, so
That would be the stuff that I would be like looking forward to. Yeah, it'd be cool to be able to release our content with more content. So
yeah.
I would probably say there's probably going to be a few more music videos in the future. It'd be
Mhm.
nice to every time we release a song, release it with a music video. It would be really cool. So
Yeah.
And you mentioning your new single, Playing in the Dark, and doing a video. Two ideas just crossed my mind.
yeah,
Playing in the dark, black screen. There you go.
yeah, yeah. Or
Or
actually like
Yeah, so
or
it's
actually
just
outside at night. You
yeah,
know?
there you go. I was gonna say that too.
yeah, like we're playing, but it's so dark you just can't see us.
Yeah,
Eh.
that'd be funny.
Where can we listen to your band and where can we buy your stuff and find you online? I know there have been bands with similar names, and then I'll look them up. I'm like, oh, well, look, it's
Yeah,
Seeker from the East Coast, and then there's Seeker from the West Coast. Well, which is the right name?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us on our Instagram. Would be so our Instagram is seeker_music. That'll be ours. We have a link on there that'll take you to our YouTube or to our Spotify. But we're available on all streaming platforms. Um, we don't have any content to purchase or buy yet, but you can stream the hell out of our music video on YouTube for Downfall.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, it's a cool name. It would be cool to get some shirts, maybe, huh? Maybe design some shirts.
yeah. I know we talked about some ideas like months back, but yeah, I think once if we get to that point where we get like a show, I'd be down to do a small batch of shirts and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think our logo is pretty sick and would look good on a shirt.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Also, too, Downfall is going to be featured on Orion Reacts this Friday, which is pretty sick.
Mm.
So I'm waiting to hear back as far as like what order, like when it'll get casted. But yeah, this Friday will be live on his Twitch for those of you that know Orion Reacts, pretty well known in the metal world in terms of
Mhm.
video promotions and video reactions. So
Yeah, that'll be cool.
yeah. So we're looking forward to that. And then yeah, just getting back to recording and just putting out more music.
Yeah.
And lastly, do you have anything else you would like to say to the people watching or listening to this right now?
Hmm.
Go listen to our music. That's it.
Play it loud, share it louder.
Yeah, tell all your friends, let them tell their friends, share with coworkers, wherever, play it in your gyms, over your PAs, whatever it is, just represent. And we'll keep putting out more stuff. And yeah, feel free, it's like leave comments or whatever, whether it's good or bad. I don't care. Any publicity is good publicity, as they say, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if it's for the listeners, but maybe more so for me and Ryan, and for people, maybe guess the listeners to understand as part of our process. But there's definitely a level of pride that we take in the project as we release things. Like none of us are. I'm not a like a studio musician or a virtual musician or a I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I'm not a award-winning producer or mixing or master. So I do what I can with the instruments. I do what I can with the recording process. We do what we can with how we produce it. But at the end of the day, we end up getting a product that I think that both of us are proud of. And it's kind of cool to watch how simple our process is. And maybe that's something that you and I can do, Ryan, next time is more capture that, whether it's like a timeline or more like a live stream. But um, we get into this flow that it's like we crush a song in like an
2 hours.
hour, two
Yeah.
hours,
Yeah.
and we'll be done with the song because we just get into this flow and it goes really smooth. Um, and at the end of the day, we get something that we're proud of to the best of our ability that we can do it, knowing that it can always be better. And we put that out and hope people like it, hope people dig it. And if they don't, that's cool too. But yeah,
Yeah. If you like it or you don't, just let us know.
yeah, just tell me either way.